Well, welcome. We are excited to have with us today Staci Carroll, who's running for American Fork City Council this year. We really appreciate Staci being here on this interview. Doing a little bit unconventional this year, where we're doing an interview online here in a Zoom format where we've got 15 questions that were asked by the readers of the American Fork Citizen and given Staci an opportunity to respond. She'll have a minute to respond to the questions, and then we just asked her to kind of wrap up her final thoughts there as she approaches the end of the minute. No need to take the full minute if it's not necessary. It's a simple answer. And with that, we'll get started if that's okay, Staci.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Rob.
You bet. So let's start with question one. How important is it to stick to the general plan of the city, and how frequent should it be followed or changed?
In general, I would say 99% of the time, we're sticking to the general plan. And I think it's actually quite important because there's reasons why it's there. There might be specific things that happen that would cause us to change something. If there's more information or something in the city changes, then we would change something. For example, I know this has hit All About American Fork, and I've had a couple of questions about it. Somebody asked me about why did you increase density in this one particular area? Actually would like to clarify, we did not put in any high density in that area. We would just increased it from very low density to a medium density, which will allow them to have smaller lots on single family residences. And we did this because it was next to the train station as well as next to the industrial area. And we wanted to make sure that it was a place that would have ability to be sold. And we're honestly trying to find places for smaller home lots anyway. It seemed like a good area, but not high density still.
Okay, great. Next question has to do with that high density. In
Okay.
2024, a residential survey put out by the city said 61% were concerned with high density. How
Yeah.
would you support adding would you support adding more high density housing in American Fork? Why or why not?
No. The short answer is no. Here's a couple of different reasons. One, we have quite a bit in our city. And one of the things I've actually been talking with legislators about for years is that when the state comes down with mandates and we have to do something, we're not getting credit for the density that we already have. They're only looking forward about what we want to be put in. And I've been talking to them for years about like, okay, we need to make sure that we're getting the credit so that it's not like punishing cities that have already done the work to put in some high density. We're finally getting some traction. I heard some legislators talking about that. So hopefully that will be coming down the pipeline, at least more of a conversation. I do believe that high density housing is important and that we need it in our city. What I like is having a mixture of homes, a mixture of abilities to come into our city. And that actually makes us quite a vibrant city to have that mixture. I've enjoyed having people that they don't care what size their homes are. So to me, that is important, having that mixture. I'll stop there because the timer's up. I have so much more to say on growth.
Areas south and west of the freeway have seen a lot of growth with higher density, particularly in that transit-oriented development area. Road infrastructure seems to have not kept up with growth. Not only does this present frustration to residents, but also a major public safety concern. If reelected, what plans do you have to get immediate solutions for residents in this growing area?
Well, there's a couple of different things that we've already been working on. One is that we have the funding mechanism finally for 200 South. So we'll be able to fix that, add, curb, gutter, and sidewalk on the area, which we've been kind of screaming about for the last few years, as well as the lights in the area. We want people to be able to walk and bike in that area. Another one is there will be another roundabout on 300 West to help with a continuous flow from 300 West onto 200 South. That should help with the flow. The construction of that is tough because, we've had to like do some things to when you shut down the road in that area, there isn't a lot. And that brings me honestly to my third point, which is we've been working really hard on connectivity in the area and building new roads east-west connections and northwest, north-south connections. And they're all in our plan, but we actually have plans for moving them forward. And I think that should help almost immediately. Nothing is exactly immediate, but I'll stop there.
Okay. What are three things you believe the city can do in the budget to be more efficient with taxpayer dollars?
Three things the city can do to be more efficient with taxpayer dollars. You know, we try to be really as efficient as we can be. If there were things in the budget that I felt like we could cut, I would actually have already cut them. So we try to like make sure that everything that we're doing is something that is absolutely needed or specifically wanted by the city. And sometimes we're making decisions that cost a little bit more in the short run, but are going to save us a lot of money in the long run. And those are the things that I'm usually as supportive of. I'm looking for long-term goals. So I know that you're thinking, well, she's not going to cut anything. That's because I've been in the council for a while. I would have already cut it if I felt like we could.
Okay. Next one we have down is the city has increased the communications budget over the last 10 years. What has the city done and what more can it do to help residents feel more informed about the finances of the city?
I actually love this question because it's something that I have been harping on for years, that we need more communication. And part of it is because it helps with transparency and understand so that residents understand what we're doing. I don't ever want to hide anything. And the more that residents know, that would be great. One of the big things that I have found is anytime we're doing something that is going to affect people directly, we actually go and either knock on their doors, give them a phone call, send them a mail, more than just our social media and letter. We'll actually go and talk to the people in the area and talk to them about it. And this has taken the form of, like, we had to shut down a road for a little while. We did an open house where we talked with the residents in the area. Another time we were doing something kind of in the lakeside area that we went and we talked to those residents in there. We had like a little cottage meeting down there. So some of those things that are maybe unconventional, we're also continuing to do, and I think it's important.
Next question. Do you support live streaming work sessions and creating a more robust council packets for the work sessions of information? Why or why not?
For the council packets, I don't know what else I would necessarily want. So no, right now we're getting actual, not just minutes, but word by word dictations from our planning commission, which I have greatly enjoyed because I can read it a lot faster than I can watch it on when a replay. So that has been really helpful. Live streaming of work sessions. Yeah, I'm supportive of that. I see no reason why not. And honestly, I tell people if you want to see the council deliberating, I actually feel like a lot of it's happening in the work session. Not that we're deliberating about the decision that we're making, but that's where we're really vetting ideas. And you can see us walking through things, and you'll see the council members often change their minds when they get more information or when somebody brings up a point. So work sessions, yeah, I would support live streaming them.
Next question. In Utah, the state legislature has set up property taxes that don't automatically go up with an increase in property values. This is known as truth in taxation. It does not allow the property taxes to keep up with inflation. If elected, what policies would you support to help the city taxes keep up with inflation?
Yeah, this is a really important question. And Rob, you've done a really good job of helping residents understand truth in taxation. The city gets a pot of money, like it's the same dollar amount, and then they add in, like if you have a new house, they're adding that in. So we're losing money over time with inflation. We have been able to keep up because of our commercial area. It's kind of been subsidizing that, which is good, but obviously you can tell that that would be not as stable as property tax. So we kind of watch that and see what's going on. Even the Taxpayers Association has said, with the way that our certified tax rate is set up, you need to increase taxes every so often. So I plan that there should be at some point in time small incremental increases just to keep up with inflation. This is not something that we would be doing to increase our budget. And if we're able to keep up with the commercial center, then I'm okay not doing that. But I don't want to put the city in the hole just because the way that it's set up.
Next question is, since 2019, American Fork City has spent a lot of time and money on possible city-owned fiber internet. Since that time, Lehigh, Pleasant Grove, and Cedar Hills have all started construction on their fiber programs. Do you support a city-owned fiber, and why or why not?
Our current, it's funny, I actually get this question maybe the most. People are really interested in a good fiber for their city, which makes me think that there is a demand for this. Our current plan is to do a public-private partnership. And of all the iterations that we have looked at, I feel the most comfortable with this one for two reasons. One, it hedges our costs a little bit. We're not putting in all of the costs ourselves. And two, we're making sure that the operational side is on that private side. And that's kind of all we've always gone that route, but this is really strongly in that private side. I don't want the city running an internet service. I want a private industry to do that. So this will kind of help with both of those things at once, but still allow us to own and have revenue share. So yes, the details are still being worked out. So I can't say for sure that I know exactly that that's the yes, but conceptually, I'm in support of that.
And if elected, you have been granted authority by voters to enact or repeal ordinances that directly affect residents and their ability to enjoy life, from how they can use their land to how many pets they can own to various permits and licensing requirements. If elected, will you look to repeal or create more restrictions on how residents can function? And what are your guiding principles in this?
This is a very theoretical question to me. Like basically, like where are you on your stances on controlling these different types of things? And I'll say this, I veer towards not regulating things. That's my natural inclination, is not regulating things. I am trying to balance that with people's individual property rights when they have things that are affecting them on their property rights. And honestly, it's the pet ordinance has gotten a lot of traction because it's been in the news, but there are lots of other things that we deal with, including zoning that affects other people. And we're constantly trying to balance those things. Like I said, I veer towards not regulating. Sometimes I actually have moved back from that because things have happened that I'm like, okay, we actually need a little bit of regulation there. So in general, if you're giving me like a conceptual, that's where I would conceptually lie. Specifically on each individual ordinance, I listen to residents and see if this is something I really don't want, then I probably would do that.
Great. Next question has to do with residents and listening to residents. During election years, it seems there's a bigger emphasis on connecting with and staying in touch with voters. If elected, what are your specific things you will do, not just to inform, but also to listen to and respond to concerns of residents to where they feel that they are being heard?
I think the thing that I've always done, so I've been on the council almost 8 years now. I'm running for my third term. The thing that I've done, and I've actually started doing a little bit more, is when we have issues that come before the council, you often will get individuals who will write or come to council to talk with you. But I will actually try to seek out other voices. I'll ask neighbors or other people in the city, people in our committees is actually kind of a low hanging fruit because they're already involved in the city and know a lot. So I'll kind of ask some of them what they think about this. This gives me a broader range of things that I can like look from. So that's a big one. I try to be really careful about making sure that if it's city information that's going out, it's coming from an official city source. That's the best like way to do official city communication. So I try not to supplant that. But if there's information that's from me, I will be clear like, hey, this information is from me and this is my perspective.
Great. Next is the fitness center is in need of a significant rebuild. In the
Yeah.
2024 survey, residents identified this as the number one project from a list of options that the city gave as possible projects. Do you support rebuilding the fitness center? Why or why not? And if not, what should happen to the current facility?
Yeah, I think, and the short answer is that I don't have enough information to make a definite decision yet. We need a pretty good need options analysis. We need to look at different iterations of what it might be because we can rebuild it in the same place. We can kind of redo what we have. We could pare down what we have. We could try to join in with a couple of other cities, which we've tried a couple of different times. There's a couple of different things that we would maybe try. But we haven't really looked at the exact cost of those yet and had a good conversation about that with the council. So we really need to, that's on our docket of things to do, probably, I would guess, this year. The big thing that I want residents to know about that is if we decided that we think it's a good idea, if we decide that it's a good idea to rebuild it, and that's the best option, the most fiscally responsible option, it will go to the residents to vote. And we won't be doing that ourselves. They will vote yes or no on the bond. So it's not 100% on the council on this one.
Okay. Roads are a major concern in American Fork. In the past, the city has given dollar amounts spent on roads as a way to measure addressing the situation. What policies do you support to improve road conditions, and how will its success be measured beyond just increased money spent?
Mm. Yeah, that's a good question. And we're talking road maintenance here, not like traffic problems, right?
Oh,
You're
I
talking
just said
about
it, improve road conditions is
road
what.
conditions. Okay, I would say maintenance there. Um, this is a long-term project because we don't have like a big pot of money at once to do this. The strategy that we've been using is a generally increasing amount of money every year as we get a little bit more in sales tax. What we've been able to do is essentially now stop the bleed from however many years ago where they were had to pull from the pot, from the road maintenance pot. And we're sitting at a level now where we can actually maintain our roads plus rebuild some of the roads, but we're not maybe rebuilding at the rate that residents would like to see. And I totally get that. But I feel like we're doing a drip for this full scale renewal. We can keep doing that. But one of the things I've actually been pushing our legislators on is transportation utility fee option, just to look at it to see if our residents even want it. And I have gotten a little traction. There was a bill last year and we expect another bill to come up this year.
Next question is what three specific things you consider the biggest accomplishments over your last 4 years of service?
Only three? Just kidding. I shouldn't have said that. Okay, there are a few different things. One that I already mentioned was the communications. We were able to get a communications person, like a communications officer, which I feel is very important to have somebody dedicated to that. Another thing that I feel was a pretty good accomplishment was as we used the Chamber of Commerce to manage still days, we also changed the funding of that to the chamber, and I was there. I was the city council person over it, and I helped with that implementation. That saved the city quite a bit of money. I also feel like what was the other one? You're hamstringing me with only three. One of the things that I am proud of is that I convinced the city to do periodic employee surveys, and that really helped us find some of the problems that we've had with employees and fix them. And so that was great. I'll stop there.
Okay. And then this next one, do you support local law enforcement being involved in assisting immigration enforcement or ICE?
The short answer to that is no, absolutely not. A little bit more information on that. I did talk with our police department about this. They told me essentially they're doing what they've always done, which is when somebody commits a crime, they come in, and if they don't have legal status, then they contact ICE, and they will continue to do that. I have a problem with the idea of us using city funds for federal stuff. that's a federal initiative and a federal oversight. I don't want our officers, us paying them to use them for that form.
Okay. And then the second to last question, in a world where hate seems to become more and more common, what specific solutions do you believe will help residents feel safe and more community focused?
Oh, interesting. Okay. Um, in general, I would say that like having elected officials that speak with respect to each other and to residents is very helpful. I feel like our council does that, our mayor does that. Another thing that we have is we strongly encourage our staff to speak to residents that way, and I've seen some remarkable things. So those are things that I have control over on the city level. But we also, I think that some of those community development stuff that we do is really important because it helps us to feel united as one. So when we have Steel Days or the Halloween on Main or things that help us to come together and celebrate, it helps us have positive interactions with each other instead of just like thinking, oh, our city is fighting, for example.
Okay. And then the last question here is just 1 minute to appeal to voters. Anything that you would like to say to them as the final closeout here?
I'll say that I feel like the city has been gaining a lot of momentum with some of the things I've seen over the last 8 years. Some of those things are the road stuff, the road maintenance stuff, but really one thing we never talked about here was road connectivity and traffic. We've been doing things that they're just on the cusp of getting there. And I would like to think that I'm part of that momentum, and I would like to see that through. So I really think that that's important. Another thing that I feel like I really bring is being part of the council. You never know what's going to be coming up. You can't possibly, before you get there, be an expert in everything. You have to be able to read and learn and talk to people. And I do feel like that is one of my strengths, learning a lot of different things, diving deep. I didn't know that much about how school districts were funded before we had the school district split. So I learned a ton. I talked to a ton of people. I read a bunch of stuff, watched a bunch of things. That's one of my fortes, and I think that's important.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Staci, for jumping on with us. I know it's a little unconventional doing a Zoom call here, and appreciate you putting your hat in the ring. It's never easy to be a candidate and to put yourself out there to the public. So thanks so much, and we wish you the best here in this election cycle.
Okay, thanks, Rob.
All right.